It's officially daffodil season. Yes, I said it. Spring is finally peeking out from that last bits of winter, and I don't know about you, but I just love seeing the first glimpse of yellow pushing through the ground and then opening up into something beautiful. There's just something about it, right? For me, it brings this wave of joy and a little breath of hope, and honestly, it also reminds me of my grandmother Trask. She loved daffodils. Hey, maybe it's genetic, but in today's episode, it's about more than just flowers. I want to share a story that changed the way I not just look at spring, but teaching. It's called the Daffodil Principle. And whether you've heard it or not, it's the perfect reminder that we all need right now, especially if you're feeling like your classroom or your energy is still in winter mode. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. I want to invite you to something that just might be the first quote-unquote daffodil bulb that you need. It's my free class called How to Transform Your Classroom into a Place of Calm, Connection, and Creativity. And inside, I share the 3-step framework that hundreds of teachers use to transform their classrooms and improve their impact. I'm also going to share the 5 mistakes to avoid when supporting your students' social and emotional development, and why you don't need to act like a classroom therapist to have a calm classroom, and what to do instead. Interested in checking out this free class? Just go to theinspiredclassroom.com/class and you can register for free. I can't wait to see you inside. So here's how the story goes. A woman takes a cold, rainy drive to visit her daughter, and her daughter doesn't want to go. She's tired, the fog is thick, and she's pretty sure it's going to be a bad idea. But she promised, so she ends up going. And what she doesn't know is that dreary day is about to change her outlook on a lot of things. Eventually, her daughter drives her to see the daffodils that she's been raving about. They pull up to a mountain slope and suddenly she sees it. 5 acres of daffodils in beautiful yellow, planted with love and intention. The sign that they saw read something like this: 50,000 bulbs planted one at a time by one woman, 2 hands, 2 feet, 1 brain, started in 1958. Let that sink in for a moment. 1 woman, 1 bulb at a time, for decades. And here's the kicker. She didn't wait for permission or funding or a better season. She just started. And now generations of people have experienced the beauty of what she's created. As teachers, we are that woman. Maybe you've planted hundreds of bulbs already, right? Your lessons, your connections, your projects, your smiles. Maybe you're looking at an empty garden bed and wondering where to begin. Whichever you are, wherever you are, it's not too late if you just start with 1 bulb, 1 smile, 1 connection, 1 art activity, 1 deep breath. So today I want to share with you 5 daffodil-inspired things that you can take this week to bring some joy back into your teaching. Number 1, choose 1 small thing to start. Choosing 1 meaningful action that will really just bring more care or creativity into your classroom. It could be reinstating a greeting at the door that maybe you've kind of lost track of, which is totally fine. That happens sometimes. It could be trying to do a quick social, emotional SEL check-in with your students, reading their faces and pulling some kid aside if they are kind of looking like they might need a little something. It could be taking 5 minutes to let the students just doodle before they start their classes with you. Small doesn't have to mean insignificant. Small is sustainable and it grows. And when you do take that moment, to just start with one small thing, so much more can happen. Think about the daffodils with this, right? The woman planted one bulb at a time, not knowing that maybe someday the garden would grow to be 5 acres. Here's number 2. Let go of the pressure to just bloom overnight. You don't have to be a Pinterest perfect teacher tomorrow, or even next week, or even this year. Release the idea that some kind of transformation needs to be super quick. Instead, I want you to consider how you can trust that consistent effort, even in the tiniest little steps, is where real lasting change can really start to take root and then grow. As I remember my professors always saying when I was getting my master's in arts and learning, it was trust the process. And you know what? That is so true even now. We constantly need to remember that we should be trusting the process of what we're doing and knowing that things aren't going to change right away, but with that sustained effort and starting with one small thing, so much more can happen for us and for our students. Number 3, consider reflecting, maybe even reflecting on a weekly basis. Taking that 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each week to really reflect on what you've done for that week. You know, what felt good? What small connection did you make? What didn't work? Or what could you tweak for the next time? When I think about reflection inside of this whole idea of the Daffodil Principle, I consider this woman one by one bulb at a time, planting a bulb, and then after her hour or hours of work, as she's brushing off the dirt off of her knees and she's standing up and she's looking what she's accomplished, I can only imagine that, you know, day after day or week after week, she would look back and just see all the progress that she made. And also maybe even sometimes seeing that the progress wasn't that great, or maybe it wasn't that noticeable. Because when you're planting a bulb, you're not necessarily seeing the flower. You're not even necessarily seeing the shoot of that bulb. But taking that moment to look back and see how the dirt that she's already been planting is just growing and growing. And then, of course, when spring hits, seeing all the amazing things that have been accomplished from her consistent work. Reflection can help you to notice the growth that often goes unseen in the rush of teaching. And it also gives you that moment to really pause and consider some of the things that you have accomplished, even if it, when you look back at it, kind of looks like a bunch of dirt. There are still ways for you to understand the progress that you're making, the progress that your students are making as well. So maybe you like to journal, maybe you do a voice memo, or you might even do a quick note in your planner. Just a quick little moment for you to really reflect on what you actually have accomplished in your classroom and what your students have as well. Number 4, let creativity lead you. You know, sometimes it's just important for you to be able to give yourself the permission to infuse a bit of art or music or movement or storytelling into your lessons. Now, I don't want you to overthink this. This doesn't have to be super fancy. And consider subscribing, because in a few more episodes from now, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite, what I call in your back pocket arts integration strategies that you can pull out on a moment's notice and just use with just about any lesson. So be sure to be on the listen and on the lookout for that episode that should be coming up in a couple of weeks. But I gotta say, you know, sometimes teaching, or I should say sometimes teachers are at their best when they kind of let go of the plan a little bit and let their creativity lead them. And if I'm looking back at this daffodil story, in the original story, and I'll put a credit and a link in the show notes so that you can refer to this at a later date, the full story. But in the story, it mentions how the flowers were planted in I'm going to quote from the story here. Majestic swirling patterns, great ribbons, and swaths of deep orange, creamy white, lemon yellow, and saffron and butter yellow. Each different colored variety was planted in large groups so that it swirled and flowed like its own river with its own unique hue. And thinking about the practicality of this and this woman doing this daffodil garden, this majestic field of daffodils, I can imagine that she didn't necessarily have a plan. She didn't go out and buy boxes upon boxes upon boxes of daffodils and strategically lay out a plan. She did it more creatively. She planted the bulbs that she had, and then she grabbed some more and planted some more. Again, one daffodil at a time, maybe one variety at a time. And so what it made at the end, though, was a beautiful canvas of all these different colors that are so admired. And in the classroom, I feel like we can do something similar. Sometimes we can allow for a couple of minutes where the students can draw a little sketch to go with your lesson. Let that kind of go. Let that be part of what the students do. One of my favorite things to ask students to do when they're doing a lesson on, say, I don't know, a social studies lesson or even a math worksheet is to give them a couple minutes to kind of transition into the lesson by drawing a border around their paper. And it has to be in the theme of whatever the lesson is. Maybe the spirit moves you and you want to use some theater to act out a book's character's emotions. Just the other day, I offered this type of opportunity up to my students to act out a scenario that we were talking about inside of a lesson. And oh my goodness, one of the shyest, underspoken girls that I've had in a very long time got up and said the lines of this character in the scenario in such a way that it just made her light up. It was really pretty awesome to see her light up and to have the other students see her in such a different light. It's amazing to see what a little sprinkle of the arts can do for some students in your classroom. So let the arts open up some new pathways for connection and engagement in your class. And if you are doing that, don't ever stop. And finally, number 5, a reminder to just keep driving. Inside the story, the daughter isn't so keen on going with the mother on this drive. And I don't know about you, but I've had plenty of times when my mother would try and drag me places and I was just dragging my feet. And I hate to admit it now, but many times that she was doing that, I ended up enjoying myself. Truth be told, now I kind of wish I could go back and tell her thanks for dragging me along. Let's face it, there are going to be days when the fog is thick, the energy is low, and you wonder if what you're doing is even going to make a difference. Keep going. And just like the woman who was the daffodil planter in the story, keep showing up, one daffodil at a time. Because your consistent care and your creativity will one day reveal a field of blossoms that you just didn't even realize that you planted. So what's one bulb that you can plant this week? Are you going to choose just one small thing to start? Are you going to let go of that pressure to bloom overnight? Maybe you'll take that opportunity to do a weekly reflection and really see what it is you have been able to accomplish, or your students. Maybe you'll let creativity lead you into something a little bit unknown, or maybe you'll just make that commitment to keep on driving, even if it gets a little foggy. So as you're walking around, if you see a daffodil blooming somewhere, maybe even in the corner of the school parking lot, I want you to remember you're making a difference, one little step at a time. one bulb at a time. And if you're ready to start seeing your whole garden bloom, remember, I'd love to invite you to my free class, How to Transform Your Classroom into a Place of Calm, Connection, and Creativity. All right, let's make this the spring you finally feel like yourself again in the classroom. No more waiting, no more doubting. Just start small, one bulb at a time. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.